The Luke Branquinho Show is brought to you by Lane Frost. Lane Frost, your legend starts now.
Man, it's really prayer, and it's really having a circle and having family and having people like you. Like, I've seen you with your kids. I'm hoping that they just continue to follow the path they're on. A lot of kids, they don't even know it's what we focus on bringing that rodeo, that shine that light on rodeo to these kids and have them get access.
Rodeo time. Welcome to Luke Branquinho Show. Our next guest is somebody that I met a few years ago, and just his story on from transitioning to the NFL to steer wrestling is pretty cool, and I'm excited to have you guys all hear it. Rob Hughes, thanks for joining us, man. It's interesting because when you're in the NFL or in really any major sport, MLB, I'm sure hockey, anything, there's things in your contract that you cannot actually do, and it's written out in the contract.
Yeah, they don't want you doing anything that's riskful for injury, and just so that's why school, doing like pick up intramural basketball or anything like that, and that was a pretty frowned upon, and also just me scooting around trying to do my local rodeos.
Right.
I sneak back and do them and interrupt and just kind of, I never got caught in anything like that, so I didn't risk a contract, but I definitely snuck around and ended up in different events and stuff like that. So
yeah, because I mean, in all honesty, I mean, yeah, you loved playing football, but horses and rodeo and cowboy stuff it was a passion. So it's going to be hard to not just swing a leg on a horse and go just have fun.
It's nearly impossible. I have to swing a leg on a horse, and if I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, I'd be swinging my leg over a horse a lot more often. A career probably would have been a lot longer.
Oh man, but but watching your career and obviously getting to know you better now, I look back on your career, very successful, and to be able to say, man, I made it, because how many kids go out there and that is the dream from a young age and don't ever make it, but you got to experience, you got to make it, you got to be successful in it, man. That's got to be such an awesome feeling.
Man, it's a blessing to be a part of the 1%. Especially when you have so many obstacles and things that can go wrong, on a day-to-day, and growing up in the environment that I grew up in, it was guys that, that definitely had the talent and, they just didn't have the opportunities. So, I'm thankful that both lined up for me.
So, and I got to ask you about that because it's a huge question for me, because one of my boys loves baseball, and I know that's even almost not even smaller percent, but that percentage is the same. How do you have the talent, but it just doesn't line up? How is that even possible?
Man, it's really prayer, and it's really having a circle and having family and having people like you. Like, I've seen you with your kids and the time and the focus that you're putting behind them. It takes that type of energy. It takes that type of preparation. And no one can do it alone, right? So
right.
it just takes putting yourself in different opportunities, getting uncomfortable, and having that work ethic. It's really just a perfect storm, so to speak.
Yeah, 100%. And so I want to go back into, college, obviously high school, college, and then into the league. But what it took and the journey it was to get there for you.
Yeah, just back from grammar school, I was a 200-pound 11-year-old kid.
Yeah, the big boy.
Yeah, I was a big boy. So and that's what I use. I use that as my advantage in sports early on. And I was always on the ranch throwing hay bales, working in the fields. And so, my dad, he just instilled that work ethic and that tenacity and that drive in us early, and that transferred over from being out in the field to the rodeo arena to Pee Wee football and Little League football. And then that kept on. I got lucky enough to get sought out by some good high schools. And then I had a brother before me which was the large part of it. He went through the experience of trying to go through the recruiting process before I did. And so that pushed him through the high school, and it got me into the right schools, right? The
Yeah,
football
yeah.
schools to get the recognition. And then on, I was able to, to blessed enough to have an opportunity to be U.S. Army All-American. And so then that projected me onto my college career. And then I happened to get lucky enough to choose the University of Notre Dame, right? And it was the best choice for me at the time. I could have went anywhere I wanted to in the country, and I chose the University of Notre Dame. And,
What? And I got to ask, was there something there? I mean, you could have went anywhere. Was there something that you saw like, man, that is for me? That's the fit. Was it the coaches, the academics, or really what was it that made it that pick?
and I'll be honest with you. I just wanted to be different, right? So it was a lot of kids that were in my area that were choosing the University of Illinois, which is our state school. Uh, choosing, Ohio State, all these big name, other big name school, Big 12 schools and stuff like that. And I didn't see, Notre Dame recruits a certain type of guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that was my opportunity to show that, hey, like, I'm the total package, right?
Right.
Academically, character wise, like, it was my opportunity to show that I was a total package. And going to that school, it was one of the biggest challenges I had in my life, during that time. And just, being there and following that system that they have there. I mean, it's rigorous. It's really kind of like, just by the book, and I had to do it. So it was one thing I had to challenge myself. I could have went to one of the state schools, and everything would have been a little easier.
Easy. Yeah. Well, exactly. And I mean,
Size 300 close to 30. So
yeah.
I could have went and done that, but I chose to really go the hard way.
Well, and I think that just shows obviously your character and the man that you are, the man that you were, the man you are now. And to me, it's inspirational to see that dedication, that drive, and not only because of its football, but academically, I need to go get this education. And I'm going to do it the right way, not just be handed to me. And I'm not saying it's like that. I just know in the rodeo world, if you're a great rodeo athlete, you can go to a class and I'm like, okay, well, here's an A.
It's the same way. It's the same way. It's the same way at the major universities. And Notre Dame wasn't a school that can do that. That you couldn't do that. You couldn't hide at the university. You had to be front, fourth, and center of your work. You had to show up to class. You couldn't just just hang out at the dining hall or or down at the Goog, which is our workout facility. You couldn't hide. You had to be there. And if you weren't, it was highly noticed. I mean, it's big guy walking around campus. You'll know if he's not in class. You got 20 other kids in the classroom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you're held accountable, and we're going to go to break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more with Rob Hughes on being held accountable and just the cowboy way.
Hey, I'm Matt Merritt, and whether I'm hanging out at home or when I'm in the woods, or even when I'm in the arena, I always choose to be legendary. Do you?
The Luke Branquinho Show is brought to you by Lane Frost. Lane Frost brand is completely family owned and operated. Every single product is designed and shipped from their hometown, Atoka, Oklahoma. The Frost family thanks customers for supporting their family. They hope you're inspired by Lane's legacy and the champion mindset. Fans of the Luke Branquinho Show can use promo code LUKE20 for 20% off any of their quality products at lanefrost.com. Welcome back to Luke Branquinho Show. Rob Hughes is our guest. And Rob, you pretty much said it right there, the work ethic and what it took to to get through college at that level through Notre Dame and be able to be a athlete was tough. But that really, honestly, probably helped transition you to the man you are, or the man you were in the NFL, because that work ethic you had to put forth there carried on into that.
yeah, and honestly, if I would have learned it a little bit sooner, who knows where things may lay. But it just projected me into a mind space where I know I had to make it, right? So I mean, it's not taking no for an answer, and just kind of just showing that tenacity and that consistency in your performance, and that's what it takes to make it to the NFL. You
Well,
gotta be.
yeah, and to that point, I mean, undrafted in 2011, right? So you don't get drafted, you have to put that extra effort in those camps to prove to those teams like, "Hey, I'm for real and I mean what I say. I mean what I do and I'm going to be one hell of an athlete for you."
Yeah, it's hard as an undrafted guy. I mean, here's a you're a guy that you're expendable to these teams, right? About what you could do for me right now if you can produce right now, and they don't have any money invested, so but I wouldn't have it any other way. I felt like that was right that was at home for me. Is being put in that position where I have to showcase it's now or never, so to speak. So I love being in that position, and when my back is against the wall, that's the kind of mindset that I try to teach to the young guys. You got to have that mindset.
Yeah. Let's transition now into rodeo. I mean, you were at the highest of high level in the NFL, playing with those guys, experiencing having those experiences. Now we're at a different different sport. We're steer wrestling now. You're leveling up. You're stepping up to the game of that.
Yeah, I was watching it on TV. That's how I first started to learn the technique and the style, and watching you and watching all those guys at the NFR. I'd go back. I recorded on my phone, and I take little like little videos on my phone and go back and slow mo it, and just getting into that, and then just put myself out there, right? Going and knowing that I'm not at the level that I wanted to be at the time, and still wrestling, but going to different jackpots, and just traveling, going to Oklahoma, Texas, and stuff like that, and just putting myself out there, and then meeting guys like yourself and a lot of the other guys that I still wrestle with, and just start putting yourself in those uncomfortable positions where your back is against the wall, and
Yeah.
you have to learn it. Where
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I mean, but what you've done in for the sport, in your area, I mean, just what you've done, what you're putting out, because I know you do a lot of practices and stuff for guys around there, and just help build the sport, grow the sport. I think has been important and huge.
Yeah, just for me, the biggest thing was when I was learning it, I had to travel so far, and I had to go to Texas and Oklahoma, and just interrupting all these different other rodeos that was so far in my area. It was no steer wrestling clinics, it was no jackpots or anything. Like, I remember first time I went to the Clarence LeBlanc jackpot for the first time. That was the first jackpot that I've ever been a part of, and I remember I was like this is bulldog in heaven, right? And then I went down to Sam's White's jackpot shortly after that, and I'm like, we have to do this back north. I have to bring this back north,
Right.
and just having that all day, just straight action packed steer wrestling right to it. We don't have to go through any of the rough stock stuff. No,
All steer wrestling. I
yeah,
get it.
all steer wrestling.
Obviously you're really close to Chicago, and people don't think of Chicago as Western, but what you're doing and growing, it's huge, man. And I appreciate that as a rodeo cowboy, but a fan of the Western way of life and wanting to see it grow. I appreciate that.
I thank you for recognizing it, and making mention of it, because it's definitely close to my heart too, because you got so many kids here, so many athletes that have the talent, and they just they're not exposed to it. So and that's why I started the foundation, Rodeo for Lives, and that's what we focus on bringing that rodeo, that shine that light on rodeo to these kids, and have them get access. So it's definitely been close to my heart to do, and I'm glad that you been able to see that and recognize it.
I think having a guy like you, a mentor that says, "Hey, you got the talent, you got the ability, and maybe it's not to that level, but let's get you going down the right path." And I feel like it doesn't matter where you're at, where you're from, you could always get going down the wrong path, and having somebody steer you the right way is huge.
Exposure breeds expansion, right? So That's been true in football. That's been true. It's just like in football, coming through in the youth league, and when you had to go to camps, you had to go to all these camps to get recruited,
Right.
right? But you had to go to Ohio State, West Virginia, Texas, Georgia. You had to go to all these different schools. You had to expose yourself so you can expand your mind, expand your vision, and that's the same thing for rodeo, and that's the same thing that I'm doing for the youth here.
Yeah, well, we're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to have more with Rob Hughes and just everything he's done for the Western sport. Welcome back to Luke Branquinho Show. We have Rob Hughes joining us. Rob, it's been awesome. The first couple segments have been amazing, just kind of hearing the stories and everything you've got going, and obviously the foundation and how you're helping expose the Western way of life more around that area that a lot of people don't even think that it's there, but it is. It's strong. The Western culture is strong in your area.
It's very strong. You got a bunch of young athletes that are coming up, and I'm hoping that they just continue to follow the path they're on. A lot of kids, they don't even know how good they are yet.
Right.
So once they do, I mean, the rodeo circuit to be on notice. You gotta have that confidence, because what follows confidence is success. So if this is, you look good, you bulldog good, you look good, you play good. It's all vice versa.
I've had a guy, Mark Lewis, when he grew up there around us, but he always says, man, you show up to the rodeo, you got to look good, you got to feel good, and that's going to help you do good. And that confidence is key in a lot of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the same thing with the NFL, and so I try to take a lot of that NFL learning and teachings and mentality and put it over into the sport of rodeo.
Yeah, I've got I don't know if you know, but Coach John Baxter, he was Fresno State. He was at USC for a little bit, but he has told me so many stories of athletes that had every tool they needed but confidence. And it's just crazy to me. And again, you experienced it, how you could have every ability, every tool, but lack the confidence.
It's crazy. I mean, but I understand it. I understand it when guys, when you put yourself in those vulnerable positions.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have to. That's why I love being in those back on the wall moments, because you're gonna either go show up or you're gonna nut up, one of the two. Like,
right.
You gotta. So that's what a lot of the kids here. That's what they have to go through those tough times and go through those moments where it's like, all right, I gotta be four. I got to ping the barrier, and I got to be four to even catch a check. So, yeah.
No, absolutely. And, and it is crazy to think that, and obviously experiencing it now with my 17-year-old son is that confidence level. You got all the tools, you got everything you need, but you got to be positive. You got to stay in the right mindset, the right frame of mind. And you feel like there are people out there that it's hard for them to do.
Yeah, it's extremely hard, but the biggest thing is what you have to hold on to, and it's got to be the center of that is having fun and enjoying that sport.
100%.
If you enjoy it and you love it, the confidence will come. It's for the people that don't have it. You got some guys that are just born with it, and then you got some guys that have to fight to make it, right? So, but the center of that needs to be fun.
We're going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up with Rob Hughes. Welcome back to Luke Branquinho Show. We're going to do some rapid fire questions and quick wrap up with you, Rob. I'm going to ask questions. You just shout it out as soon as you could think of it, and we're going to keep rolling. Favorite rodeo?
Ooh, Pembroke.
Okay. That's
a local rodeo.
I was going to say in Illinois.
Small local rodeo in Illinois, backyard. No. The ones that no.
All right. Favorite NFL moment?
Favorite NFL moment would be my first touchdown. Soldiers Field, Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears, Soldiers Field.
Oh,
man, I got to actually tour that field, just not with a private tour, but we went around there. Man, talk about the history of that field is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. We got some things brewing too, so we'll see if we can resurface that.
Very cool. We'll have to have you back on the show and talk about that. All right. Favorite college moment?
It'll be USC rain game, senior year. running back before me fumbled, and we had a rule in the game: if a guy fumbled, he's out. And it was we were down 7-6, I think, and took it down to the game-winning drive, and I just took over.
Nice. That's awesome, man. Memories like that you'll never, they'll never forget. That's
No,
pretty
they
cool.
don't. They don't.
Pretty cool. All right. Favorite food?
I like Thai food.
Really?
Thai, yeah.
Ah, interesting. I might have to go with you. I've never been to a Thai restaurant.
I got a good place right by the ranch.
Awesome. Well, Rob, I can't thank you enough for joining us. We're going to have to get back together again. I'll get up there and we'll go do some steer wrestling.
That sounds good.
All
Thank
right,
you guys
man.
for having me.
Appreciate it. Thank you all for joining us here on the Luke Branquinho Show.